In 1970, in Arcadia, California, authorities uncovered one of the most heartbreaking cases of child abuse in modern history. It was the story of Genie Wiley, a young girl who had spent her entire childhood in isolation, locked away by her own father. Her discovery shocked the world, both as a horrific crime and as a unique, tragic case for science to study. Genie's nightmare began the moment she was born. Her father, Clark Wiley, a man suffering from deep paranoia and violent tendencies, believed the world was a dangerous place. He decided to protect his daughter by cutting her off completely from society. From the age of 20 months until 13 years old, Genie spent nearly all her time locked inside a small, dark room. She was usually strapped to a child's potty chair or bound inside a sleeping bag with her arms tied, unable to move freely. For over 13 hours each day, she was kept in this state. Her father never spoke to her like a human being. Instead, he communicated through growls and barks, imitating a dog's snarl, as if she were not his daughter, but an animal to be controlled. When Genie made any noise, he beat her severely, training her into silence. Her mother, Irene, was almost completely blind and terrified of Clark. She rarely interfered, out of fear. In this suffocating household, Genie grew up without warmth, love, or even the recognition of her own humanity. The most chilling part of Genie's story is that she grew up not knowing what it meant to be human. She was not allowed toys, stories, or interaction. She never learned to speak, never played with other children, and never heard comforting words. When authorities finally found her, she could barely walk properly, spat instead of speaking, and showed behaviors closer to a frightened, neglected animal than a teenage girl. Her father had completely suppressed her emotional world. He wanted total control, and he succeeded in erasing almost everything that made Genie a child. In November 1970, Irene finally escaped her abusive husband and took Genie with her to social services. When officials saw the frail, malnourished girl, unable to speak or function normally, they were horrified. Genie was immediately placed under care, and the case drew the attention of psychologists and linguists worldwide. To them, she was more than just a victim, she was a living experiment. Could a child who had missed the critical years of learning still acquire language and social skills? When the truth of Genie's suffering became public, Clark Wiley was arrested. But before he could stand trial, he shot himself with a gun, leaving behind a short, chilling note. The world will never understand. Irene, Genie's mother, faced charges as well. But because of her blindness and claims of ignorance, the court cleared her of responsibility. She was never punished. Genie's half-brother, John, later admitted in interviews that he had witnessed much of the abuse but felt powerless to stop it. He said, "Whether I wanted to or not, I was in the room while Genie was being tortured." For a while, Genie became the center of scientific research. She learned some basic words and gestures, but she never fully acquired language like a typical person. Over time, disputes among researchers and caregivers caused further instability in her life. Eventually, Genie was moved into foster care, and later into a private nursing home where she still lives. According to her mother, she is now happier, communicates a little more, and enjoys visits, but the scars of her past will never disappear. The tragedy of Genie Wiley is more than a horrifying crime, it became one of the most famous cases in psychology, shedding light on how vital human interaction is for language and emotional development. Her father's cruelty turned her childhood into an experiment in isolation, and though he escaped justice through suicide, the world will never forget what Genie endured. Backhand index pointing right. Genie's story remains both a scientific mystery and a haunting reminder of how fragile childhood is, and how devastating it can be when love is replaced with cruelty.